Hey folks, welcome to another Market Conversations. You could probably hear the church bells in the background. That means we're ringing in a new Friday night live stream. And tonight, I have a couple of great guests. I've got right from the FinTwit community, XRP Lazarus is going to be in the house. I've also got a buddy of mine who you may recognize from a one-on-one conversation. It's producer extraordinaire turned entrepreneur deluxe, Mr. Erik von Schultz. We're going to talk about coins outside the 100. We're going to talk about gaining and gaming some of these projects. See, one of the things that we have an advantage now that we didn't have before is that a lot of us survived the ICO phase, this time of just absolute incredible exuberance, right? And we saw that come fizzling down. Well, one of the elements is this principle that comes into play about, it's called taking profits, right? And when you see a project go up that you have invested in, it goes up 1,000%, people are taking profits. They're not leaving the whole bag in hopes that it's going to make them a billionaire. We're going to talk about those kind of investing strategies and just exchange some really cool crypto stories. So I hope you're ready for that. Pretend that the incredible graphics have just played and let me bring in both Erik and Lazarus. Hey guys, how are you tonight?
Doing good.
Thanks for having me. How's it going?
It's going good. Hey, why don't we start real quick with Erik, and then we'll go to Lazarus. Let's do 30, 40 seconds of kind of, a little bit of who you are and what has got you excited in the digital asset space. We'll start with you, Erik.
Okay, I'm Erik von Schultz. I'm a film producer and I do crypto and got obsessed with it now. I mean, I got into Bitcoin, I got into mining. I'm really into XRP, but I like a lot of the altcoins, a lot of the outside, the ones that have massive upside potential. I found some like Hex and Axiom very, very early, and they shot up like rockets, and I have no problem taking $500 to 6,000 or $7,500 and yanking that out into other projects. And so I started discovering things that might have been in the top 500, top 260. I think casino coins in the 240s, 230s. I really like that one as well. Some other ones that are just dApps, some up and coming ones that might be 5 or 10 years down the pipeline, but at $45 per million, it's kind of worth the gamble to me to pick up.
Sure. Lazarus.
Hey, everybody. This is XRP Lazarus. I'm a data analyst, and I got into crypto quite a while ago, about 2015. I got into crypto, started with Bitcoin, moved on to XRP. Once I figured out XRP, I just kind of went crazy and started buying up as much stuff as I could. I think what gets me the most excited about crypto is the possibility of the technology. The only reason I ever looked into Bitcoin was to prove to my friend that it had no value. And I ended up figuring out that I was like way wrong on that one, and it changed my life. So I'm excited about it.
Well, let me ask you a question since we got you front and center here. If you got in 2015, XRP was being traded somewhere. At what time did you get in? Do you remember your first purchase of XRP and what the price was at the time of your first purchase?
So I didn't buy XRP until 2016. I think it's like the beginning of 2016. I got some right before it went to 20 cents. And then I sold a lot of it. And then it went up to like 70 cents. I bought some at 70 cents. I just like FOMO'd in. Then it went up to like $3 or something. And I sold out there and basically been averaging down ever since.
Interesting. And I know Erik has been in this space for a long time too. Erik, I'd love to hear your journey through that through that 2017? Because I know at that time you were already mining Bitcoin back then.
Yeah, and I wasn't into anything else. I didn't give a crap about nothing else but Bitcoin.
Right.
Unfortunately, I wish I would have even got into XRP like I do now, where when I get into something I can buy millions and millions of them while they're cheap. I would have had 20 million XRP right now. But I didn't get an XRP until it hit 11 cents. Whenever it hit 11 cents, not a while back in March or so, and just started buying it up like a banshee. And I've been buying it ever since. And so XRP I love. And once I wish I would have discovered it when I discovered Bitcoin, but I did not.
Well, I mean, let's like Lazarus talked about doing several different points in 2017 when he saw gains in XRP. Model that for us from your perspective as it pertained to Bitcoin, because you're mining it. So there was at least you had some cost of production, right? You had the rigs probably depreciating over time, and you had to pay electricity and things of that nature.
Yeah.
How did you approach gains throughout that kind of like incredible 2017, very beginning of 2018?
Yeah, I was just buying, selling certain ones for certain profit margins. And of course, then when it tanked, I wish I would have sold more. But I just pretty much just started, kept continuing with the mining, swapped out machines, got the newer ones. I got some pretty good ones now. And now that when that actually, as that comes in, still every day money comes in, I'll look at the altcoin. So I'm in a little different position than other people because I got in early with that. And plus, other avenues that I have. And so I'm in a little different position than some, but I still treat it like a business. I treat it like I looked at all through the things. I have not lost any money in crypto yet. So knock on wood, I've never lost a dime in crypto. I've only made money in it. I make pretty good decisions. And if it goes down, I buy something, I just hold it and wait now. And just when it goes up, I'll, and sell it. Or like I buy so low now, the prices are so cheap on some of this that 5 years from now, it's not going to be like casino coins, not going to be $300, $250 per million in 5 years. If it might tank, it might go to zero. Anything can go to zero. I accept that. If anything goes to zero, I accept that 100%. But I don't believe that. I think it's going to be, well over 50 cents by 2025. And if that hits, I'm looking at, just untold millions. It's just ridiculous.
I'm actually with you on that.
Nothing wrong with untold millions. Lazarus, what were you going to say?
So I'm saying, yeah, I'm with you on that all the way. I agree with what you're saying, 100%.
Yeah, it's built on the XRP ledger, and it's got a lot of. They got the guy behind it. One of the guys behind it. Their company does $45 billion a year. So it's the gaming industry, and some of the biggest people at Poker Stars and in the gaming world are in that. And some people have been there now for 4 or 5 years. They can always disappear tomorrow. I don't know. But looking at their timeline and the work, and they will not talk unless they have solid information and things to give out. They don't hype their coin, keeps the price low. No one really knows about it. Hardly anyone buys it. I know Jerry was into it for a while, and you discovered it. And some people slowly do, but there's almost nobody in it. You go look at the top wallets. The top 100 wallets control 67% of that market. So there's not a lot of wallets out there. There's very few people in it. So to me, it's just free at that point.
And Casino Coin specifically is addressing such a large market.
Yes.
Gambling overall is a multi-trillion-dollar industry as a whole industry.
Yeah.
Their whole approach to their bankroll manager wallet and the use of the coins in a regulated or a regulation friendly way where you can't have a bankroll manager wallet without being KYC'd AML.
Yes,
right.
Yeah, exactly. And that with crazy
on the nature.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, well, that's an outside the law kind of thing. But I'm saying from a regulatory standpoint, you can't have a wallet without being KYC'd AML.
Yeah,
that's a a bonus, you would think.
And they white label it. So any company can take it, slap on their logos and stuff like that, and they're immediately running within a day because they white label that, and they can exchange any currency back and forth, any dollar amount. And with the new Crazy 8 that's tied into it, they're going decentralized. So they're hitting all the decentralized places. So you have a safer way to go to these decentralized places. And with the trust protocol, they're putting all of their every hand, every spin, every 21 play on the blockchain. So you can watch and make sure that you can validate it, make sure they're a legit company when you do game with them. So it's getting difficult. And then we'll say, let's just switch topics real quick because Coin is great, but we're talking about outside ones too. There's one called DApps, DAPS. It's called DApps coin. And they're a privacy coin, but they got a lot of upside potential. But they have a ton of them, like 1 billion. So it's like $46 per million right now. But 5-10 years from now, even if America banned it now, privacy coins are going to be around. You're not going to get rid of privacy coins. It's decentralized. They're staking everywhere. I have a staking server for them as well, and they're really growing. And at the price point they are right now, no one's paying attention. But then when people jump in, and let's just say you spent $500 and got 10 million of them, and it goes to a penny, you can dump it. It goes to a dime.
Let's dive into that for a second. So here's the thing about any form of value, and it doesn't matter what it is. Any form of value is only valuable if somebody else finds value in it. So, for instance, here's the thing that I don't get about privacy coins. If there's no ramp back to a medium of exchange that I can use to put gas in my car, food in my refrigerator, or pay my bills, then it isn't really valuable to me. So let's say the US does ban these things. Are you talking about the value in the system maintains value because it can be exchanged for something like Bitcoin that can go to an on-ramp?
Well, it can be used as
actually be disseminated into the economy.
Yeah, well, it can be used as like now I'm not talking about doing criminal activity or anything by any means. I'm saying, say you want to do a transfer, you want to buy Canadian pharmaceutical drugs in America, which you can legally do, but you don't want that tied to you, so your insurance company doesn't find out because they share everything. You can use this privacy coin, buy it, get it sent to your house completely anonymously with payment, and no one's going to track you, because the future of the blockchain is everything's going to be trackable. We're going to go cashless. Every transaction is going to be viewed and under a microscope. And if you want transactions legally, you can get no problem, but you want no one to know about that transaction. That's where these particular privacy coins are going to come in.
I totally get that, but that's predicated on the fact that this Canadian pharmaceutical company would take that form of value.
True. That is true. And I think over time, you're going to find places, just because of like the unstoppable domains, you can just send an email and those places are going to do the same thing, and they're going to have every single crypto in there. And you can just send it to there. They'll get the crypto. They'll take everything. But they're not going to care as long as they get paid, and they can just exchange it. And it won't even matter what you send them, because you can accept everything. I can accept 20 cryptos right now under my unstoppable domain. I can make it 100 one day. People understand where this is going. People are not seeing this, and I'm buying it all up, because people are they're focused on the top 3. Ethereum. I hate Ethereum. I can't stand it. I own Ethereum. I hate it. And I can't stand it. I did a transaction on Bitcoin the other day. I transferred 0.05 Bitcoin. It took 48 hours and cost me $8.60 to go through. It just went through yesterday. 48 hours and $8.60 to get one stupid transaction for 0.05 Bitcoin. It's ridiculous. Bitcoin drives me nuts.
Yeah, and Ethereum's kind of the same way too.
Yeah,
he's just shot through the roof recently, and it's just like all these chains. That's why I really like XRP and their consensus protocol, because they've figured out a way to make it super cheap. And other chains have too, but I feel like a lot of these chains that aren't as popular as they will be are going to break too once the volume ramps up. Just like 2017 with Bitcoin, it hit a wall, you know, unconfirmed transactions and incredible wait times. And it's just like, unless a lot of these coins, unless they really do, and maybe they all are going to have scaling, solutions someday. But
I know they're working on the Lightning Network and some other, I like Polkadot for this reason. They solved a lot of these issues. And they have the new Plasma network that's being built on the substrate of Polkadot. and Polkadot can handle 10,000 TPS. It's just crazy when it gets to it. And with the Plasma network, to keep it really cheap, which just had their last lock drop. They have a new one coming. So if you go Plasma network, I'm really big on. They're not out yet, but they are. They're going to be huge. I think they're solving a lot of problems.
Erik, explain. Plaza is a layer 2 solution for Polkadot.
Yeah. They're allowing other smart contracts and other, like all the ERC20 tokens to just jump onto the Plasma network. And I watched him do an interview. It's been a while since I seen it. I was just so hyped on his project. I just got into it. I loved it. And you can find out more if you go to the Plasma network. Plasm.network, I think, is the website. And they just have some really good tech. And the kid's very smart. Kid out of Japan. He's super smart. And he actually reminded me of my kid. So I was like, man, this kid. He reminded me of Steven. So I was like, I had a connection with him on that end. But he just was very, very sharp, very driven, very focused. And I think their project has a lot. And it's right now, Lockdrop is free. You get your money back. So say you put in one Ethereum token, or you put in Polkadot, and you lock it in for so many days, they give you X amount of the Plasma network tokens, and then after X period of days, you get your deposit back. So it's free right now, basically. It doesn't cost anything.
Right.
If you have faith.
Explain how. Okay, I understand layer 2 solutions that are meant to either increase transaction speeds because they take volume off of the main chain, allowing that speed of transaction. How does this layer 2 Plasma solution keep the cost down? Because that's what you premised it. You said this Plasma is going to keep the cost down. What?
I really don't understand the level of what they're working at. I just saw when he was explaining it. I said it looked like they solved a really big issue. They're trying to solve all the Ethereum problems. That's what Polkadot was trying to do. And it's not going to take over Ethereum. I think Ethereum's going to be around. I think they're going to solve the issues, and I think Ethereum's here for a long haul. They're just too ingrained with everybody. I just hate them because I hate paying $16 a transaction, $12 a transaction.
Yeah.
I'm glad they did that Uniswap drop for me because when I first got it, I thought it was a scam because I didn't know anything about it.
So did I.
Did you think it was a scam too?
Yeah, I was like, there's no way I'm getting $1,200
That's
for
what
free
I said.
here.
No one's giving me $2,500 on the spot. No one's giving me $2,500. And I'm like, well, let me see. Then I was like, I got it, sold it immediately.
It went up to like $8. It was crazy. I got one. So I was on Coinbase. I moved mine to Coinbase because I was going to sell it into cash. And this is why I hate Coinbase. I have a transaction at $7.50 Uniswap. I mean, it wasn't a lot of money. It was like $600 or something. But it went through and then it came back. And then it was like it never happened. So I have like the transaction. I'll pull it up on my phone. I'll tell you what it says. Basically, I put the transaction, it came back, and then the price dropped a bunch after that. And I did end up getting like a $7 order off, but I don't remember exactly what it says. It's happened to me twice now, and that's why you got to be careful if you're using. So,
on the Uniswap?
Yeah, so I sold at $7.69 and 100 uni for $757, and then right immediately after I received $757 of Uniswap at $7.69, the same exact amount. So it offset my sale for some reason.
Yeah, I mean, this DeFi is so new, and there's still, I think, problems.
Yeah, Coinbase. Every time anything, like, because when it just got listed, Coinbase, like whenever they get overflooded with people trying to do like one asset or something like that, that happens. And the same thing happened to me with OXT when it hit $1. When OXT hit $1, I tried to sell some up there and it came back. So just a heads up to everybody: be careful trying to trade on Coinbase. It's not good for trading because the time you need it the most. I mean, if you're trying to sell on the spike, there's a decent chance that it won't work.
Yeah, we can go to the question on the with it asking us what we think of Pundi X. NPXS, you can go ahead if you are familiar with it. I can go on. But
I'm not familiar with it.
Okay, I actually own it, and I like it. It's a good project out of Malaysia, and they're actually hustling. These guys are, really doing. They do a point of sales with cryptocurrency using the Pundi platform and the NPXS, and it's dirt cheap right now. It's a spec one. It's one of my gambling ones. It's like that one's like another one that's virtually free by the million, and I picked up a few millions of them a while back, and I picked up some recently actually as well, and I like the people in the project. I think it's good. I think it's looked over and glossed over because it's not an American project, but they got a lot of good people. They're busting their butt. They're really working. There's some good people behind it. There's some big bankers behind it in Malaysia. There's some good people throughout, through the Asian market where they're kind of underrepresented where they're at, and they're just kind of hustling. To me, it looks kind of like a little XRP project over there. So I like it.
Well, yeah, I'll tell you, I am not into Pundi, but
Okay.
my son is.
Uh-huh.
I was having a conversation with him, I don't know, month and a half ago. And it was one of those, if I felt, because I saw some activity, we share a brokerage account at Schwab. So his brokerage account is part of mine. So every transaction he does in the equity markets, I see. I get the notification on my phone. And so I was going to have my little come to Jesus talk with him because he was liquidating some equities. And that's not at all what you do with stocks that pay dividends.
Yeah.
Sit and you take advantage of compounding interest. So
Right.
as I was about to blast into him with both barrels, I said, okay, well, can you explain to me what's going on with the Schwab account? And yeah, Dad, I sold some shares, and I expected, I wanted to buy a video game or so, da-da-da-da-da. You know what he did? He was liquidating positions out of the Schwab account and putting the money into Coinbase and buying Pundi X because he had already worked out the math that his staking rewards would have a higher return than the yield on the dividends from Schwab. And I went, I feel like an idiot. Okay, good job, son.
Okay. Well, yeah. And the DeFi aspect of it on some of this is really good. There's, you can get. I was doing one. It was bid with Bitrue, and it was 350%. 350%. You're making. You match your Ethereum with that. You get in the liquidity pools. It's going 350%. It's since gone down. It's about probably 110% right now. But double your money a year just sitting in there.
Right.
No, that's the part that gets me is when I hear somebody say, like, you said double your money in a year.
Well, this one's actually, it was triple for a while, but then it went down. It was at 350%. That's 110.
I would think, and maybe I'm just, old and out of touch, but when you're playing with these Ethereum wrapped deposited liquidity pool dealy bobs, you need to be on top of your game because the truth is there isn't that much liquidity really.
No.
And you can go from hero to zero in like that.
I was 43% of the market in one. I was 86% of the market in another. And then the other ones, I was an average of 14% every market I was in of the liquidity in the world. This dumb
in the world.
That's how illiquid these markets are. I'm like putting in when it was like I was doing it was what's it called? I was in Vechain when Vechain the Vex exchange came out. I don't know if you're familiar with the Vex exchange, but they have their own exchange now. And so I was like, Ocean X I had and Safe Harbor and Player Network. So I had a lot of Player. Safe Haven. And so the Player Network I was like 26% of the market for a long time. Now I think I'm like 12% or so of that. And then VeThor. I bought a lot of VeThor when it drops down. I think VeThor is worth a lot of money some days. I store VeThor.
Really?
Yeah. Because on the Vechain network, it's getting big, and as more and more people start using it, they're going to need the VeThor as gas. Right. And right now, it's so cheap, and I think one day it's going to be over $1. And so I just.
But you don't think the fact that the actual VET tokens generate VeThor?
They don't generate enough. They only generate 1.63%. And so when large companies start doing this and burning that off, it's going to burn out quick. A lot of this.
I see what you're saying. You're saying the utility in the network will outdemand the supply that's generated by the actual token holder.
I think actually what I think will happen is Vechain is going to have to redo their protocol to allow more VeThor to be produced as that happens. But there'll be a period where it's going to spike, and I'll probably dump all the VeThor then because I have no need for it. And it was just super cheap one time. I just grabbed some, and I haven't bought any since. And I'm not stocking it. It just tanked, and I just grabbed a bunch.
I have a VThor story. So, and he's in the chat, Mr. Bill Gould, who, like yourself, is somebody that I met through this vehicle, this platform, and we chat on the phone sometimes from time to time. And I forget, I was talking about VThor, and I was saying I didn't really get it, and I looked at how much my actual VET generated, and it wasn't nothing. It was nothing. I mean, I didn't think nothing of it. And he did something really nice. He shot me over like some
VThor
amount of VThor, and he said, "Hey, I want you to have this. Keep it." Because I think he's seeing like what you're seeing. Obviously, if you know the tokenomics of the coins you're dealing with, and you understand if there is interplay with another asset, for instance, gas on Ethereum, Neo has a version of gas.
Yeah.
This is what this VThor is a version of gas for VET, right? And it's like, wow, okay. I get it. Utility will drive the demand for the gas, just like the more cars on the road drive the demand for oil refineries to put out, refined gasoline.
Yeah, because I mean, more and more companies are getting on this. I know the Walmart in China, and I know people down on Vechain, they think it's a scam. But I talked to Sonny Liu a long time ago, and he is not a scam. I don't think he's a criminal by any means. I did all the research. I try to research even these junk coins.
I like Sonny Liu.
Yeah, no, sharp guy. And I talked to him. This was a long time ago, and I was like, and he's very straightforward, just like conversations like this, just via Zoom talking. And he was dead serious. He's really trying to build this up to be massive. So I really like Vechain, and like as your buddy there, he bought 500,000. He said for $150, and he's stacking that. So yeah, that was and then if it hits 10 cents, that's a pretty good little score for $150.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Hey, let me ask you, Lazarus. So obviously we're at that stage of maturity in the market as investors, not that the market is at a maturity level, but the investors in the marketplace, there's a much larger maturity level than there was 3 years ago, right? So
For sure.
yeah, because you've been in the space for a long time now, and you have a pretty wide berth that you give this. Wrap down. Do you have phases? Like, do you have salt coins that you've really placed a big bet on? Do you have lottery tickets? How do you view your allocation to different things?
Sure. Okay, so my portfolio is based around, I have like my 5 favorite coins that are the highest percentage of my portfolio is based around. Those are the coins I've done the most research on. Those are the ones where I've looked into white papers, where I'm using less social proof for my decision making. Although this is super complex stuff, so at some level, unless I'm a technical expert on all these chains, I'm gonna have to use some form of social proof. Those are the ones that I buckle down the hardest on. And then the rest, like you mentioned about having limited resources. I don't have time to read 1,000 white papers, or I hold 35 tokens, I think, right now. So, and I definitely haven't read all the white papers on those. So outside of my major coins, everything else to me, I just see it as a calculated gamble. And sure, I'm not just going to buy something that's an obvious scam, but I do have like some channels I follow, people I follow that I kind of use as a proxy for weeding out the scams, and then throw a couple $100 into each here and there, and then get lucky. Like Link, I put $200 into Link. I didn't know anything about it, but it was like about to get listed on Coinbase, or had just been listed on Coinbase or something like that. I got some at like 20 cents December 2018 for $200, and then I sold it for like $8 or $9. Like I made like a ton of money on it. I didn't know anything about it, but basically I just bought it because people I trusted said like, hey, I think this is a good project. And I do that with a lot of my projects. And I'm not saying like, just go with what you see on the internet, because a lot of it is people that don't know what they're talking about. But I have a few channels I follow that it's people I really trust. And if they mention something, then I'm either going to put it on my short list or I'm going to take a gamble on it.
Yeah, and talking about those, yeah, that's a good point. I actually do read all the white papers, but like Digibyte, I like. That's not talked about a lot. Digibyte, Bitcoin Cash. People stay away from it, but Bitcoin Cash is pretty good. In a couple, less than $300, and it's fast. It solves a lot of problems that Bitcoin does, and the people behind it, Gary Ver and some other people, they are lions for that. So at $300 pump, I think it's going to be over 10 grand within 3 to 4 years.
Yeah, I think a lot of these are going to go up. And one of the proxies I use to buy coins is Coinbase. And not that I think they have the best like protocol for like weeding out, only listing coins that are like amazing, because they certainly have some on there that I don't like. But pretty much if it's on Coinbase, like I'm going to put $200 into it and we're going to see what it does. And one of the reasons I do that is because Coinbase, the interface is very, very user friendly. It's very simplistic, and like especially like with Erik, he's like into DeFi, and like that stuff's complex. You have to know how to interact with the chain. You have to have like MetaMask, and you have to do all this stuff. Be familiar with Etherscan, and when these people that aren't experts in this, when people start coming in to buy like the masses, like right now, it's still not mass adopted, and when people come in. My thought is the vast majority of these people aren't going to be able to figure a lot of this out, and they're going to, unless there's a lot better user faces coming down the road, they're going to be using Coinbase. And that means that all those coins are going to have, I think, a bigger influx of people than other exchanges around. I mean, sure,
you're right. It's the law of big numbers, right?
Yeah,
so if Coinbase is presenting a user interface to, let's say, 100 million users, and the wonderful little decks that Erik is just making a killing on with his 3,000x coins, only has an addressable market of 30,000 people. That's a big discrepancy.
Yeah. Right. Mine was always 5 years down the line, though. Also, I'm looking at Ocean ones as 5 years from now. The ones I think are going to pop off, definitely like the ones that go on Coinbase. He's 100% right. Those ones are going to go up. Chainlink, I think, is going to be well over $300. And there are some other ones I think there's going to be huge. I think Bitcoin Cash is going to be huge, and like I said, and Bitcoin is is going to be over 150,000. I think in the next 24 months.
Yeah, and you're right. Like. All this, like the decentralized DeFi part where it's super complex, you have to interact with the chain. There's going to be stuff that makes this all simpler for sure down the road. The further we get down the road, the easier it's going to get to use. Like it's just like the internet. Like when the internet first came out, you couldn't use it unless you understood how to use it. And like, they came out with all these protocols like HTTPS and, SMTP and IP. And like all these things made it super simple for the everyday person who's not going to become an internet expert. And I think a lot of that's going to happen in crypto too. And so those coins, I think it's going to take a little longer just because this space is not moving super fast. But like I said, or like you said, I agree. Like 5 years down the road, maybe 10 years down the road, this is going to look very different.
Yes.
Erik, are you or Lazarus, anybody familiar with Spank Chain?
Never heard of it. I might check it out from the cellmate.
Spank Chain. I mean, what are we talking about? Is this a we're keeping prison rape down type of coin? I mean,
that's going to do well in the future in prisons.
What's the deal here? Hey, since I got both you guys here, and you both have what I would consider a very, very knowledgeable understanding of XRP, the protocol, the company Ripple behind it, and are up to date with kind of the global landscape. What do you guys think is holding back this coin from not only adoption within a consumer milieu, but the industrial players, the banks, the FX traders, these people that would really benefit from fast, inexpensive, quickly settling
I think you
devices.
cut out there, Jerry.
I'd love to hear your take on this because I can't come up with a reason.
Maybe go to Lazarus. I know he's a data analyst, and I can go after him.
I think it's liquidity. Like the biggest thing is liquidity. Now the question is, why isn't there liquidity? And like right now, you have to source all this liquidity from crypto exchanges. I mean, that's how you're transferring XRP into other currencies. So until this thing gets mass adopted, liquidity is going to be a slow stair step up. That's what I think. And sure, I think a lot of what's holding liquidity back is regulatory clarity. Regulatory clarity. I don't know why I kept saying that wrong, but yeah, I think regulatory clarity is one of the things that's really holding it back. I mean, at least from like accelerating the timeline. But I've always seen XRP as being like a slow stair step up, and I think the whole MoneyGram thing where the it's going down basically. The liquidity of XRP is going down. I think they were testing it with treasury payments. And Joel Katz or David Schwartz mentioned something that on his Twitter that, some companies aren't going to use it for customer payments because if something goes wrong, then the customer doesn't get money. And so a lot of those companies wanted to first see them use it with something like treasury payments because those aren't as big of a deal. And if it takes an extra day or two, it's not a huge problem. But yeah, I think it's liquidity. And I think over time, that issue is going to solve itself. Either that or, we're going to have to they're going to have to shell out a lot of money for more market makers and things like that.
Yeah, I can go on top of that one. They actually just hired a guy from Goldman Sachs that specializes in liquidity from the FX markets. He totally transformed the FX markets in the last 10 years. Now Ripple hired him, and he just put an ad out for someone just yesterday in London to get another liquidity guy over there. So they are pushing the liquidity thing. So we're going to start seeing it sooner rather than later. I think the other part of this puzzle is there's only retail buyers in this right now. Nobody owns this. There's less than probably 1 million people that don't even own XRP. No one owns it on the planet.
Right.
1 billion plus people on the planet. Less than 1 million itself. And I'm sure Jerry has multiple wallets. I'm sure Lazarus has multiple wallets. I'm sure everyone on this thing has multiple wallets. So there's a very small retail, and retail investors can't put a dent in this market. And as Jerry said, it's going to have to be institutional adoption as they come in and can buy. But I heard this. I heard a couple of companies talking, and they said they can't even buy XRP until it's over $7 because in their bylaws, it's considered a penny stock. And I didn't think never occurred that they can't buy until it's over a certain dollar amount. So if it hits that certain dollar amount, they can jump in because the regulatory clarity is not there. So they still consider it as a stock, which it is not. That's why they consider it.
Right.
No, I hear you. There are 2 points for me around this whole issue. One is that MoneyGram proved that a publicly traded company in the U.S. could utilize a digital asset in payment flows to another country, which is exactly what they did. MoneyGram sent U.S. dollars to Bitstamp. Bitstamp sent XRP to Bitso. Bitso converted that into the Mexican peso. And it happened for months, and obviously none of that is against the law.
Yeah.
So let's say that squashes the whole regulatory clarity issue. That's answered. There is no need for regulatory clarity. Okay. So hang on. Now the next part is if the statistics and everything that we've been told about XRP, that it is faster, it is cheaper, and it saves money compared to traditional methods,
Swift,
then why is, and there are 24 companies using ODL? Why aren't those volumes increasing even incrementally over time? The MoneyGram thing was all of 2019, and I think the first quarter of 2020.
Yeah.
Why, if it truly did save money, why didn't it increase even in an incremental level?
You mean the price?
No, the
volume. The volume.
If I'm a business and I have a fiduciary responsibility to bring value to my shareholders, which inside tip here, MoneyGram is exactly that. They're a publicly traded company who have a fiduciary responsibility to add value to their shareholders. Okay. Why didn't they start incrementally stepping up their use of this cost savings so that more value could go to either expanding their networks or returning money to their shareholders.
Well, XRP is only going to save you money if there's enough liquidity, right? Because if there's not enough liquidity for the transaction, then what happens is you have a bunch of slippage. And when slippage gets to a certain point, it might even be more expensive to transact with XRP than it would be through the traditional correspondent banking system. And so, like, I think that it really is liquidity holding it back. And like a company, like, for example, they've mentioned, and when using XRapid, not XRapid anymore, but ODL, you can see the time that the transaction is going to arrive in the fee. And so that means you can see if there's liquidity or not. And I think a lot of the times there's just not enough. And I mean, I would like to hope that more companies are using it than we know about. But also, like, I think none of the big companies are going to use it. Like, none of the big banks are going to use it because they benefit from the correspondent banking system.
Right.
All the small banks are paying them. I mean, they don't want it to change. They're going to do everything in their power to have it not change because it's a good deal for them if they're getting paid by everybody else, and it keeps them on top. But yeah, I mean, it's a good question of why more banks aren't using it. But I think it's just mainly liquidity and the
banks.
Or financial institutions.
How about this? How about no new participants, just the existing ones? Okay, if MoneyGram was putting 10% of their flow to Mexico through ODL, and ODL was truly cost saving, then why didn't it step up to 11%, 12%? They had 15 months. And they're still doing it, but I meant, why didn't the volumes continually increase? See, here's the thing. If they're doing it on transactions, and this one transaction a year ago would cost me $1.50 and now it costs me 75 cents, I'm going to want to do more of that, right? It's just, right. That's game theory. And that's the part that it's a disconnect, because I don't see game theory playing out. Now, yes, Ripple has some new hires, right? They've scrapped the Miguel Valles system of market making. They've got this new guy. They've got their loan department, right? They're going to be issuing credit lines to people. I understand all that. But I'm also not the kind of investor that just says, okay, I put my money in. Now, no matter what happens, I'm never going to say anything bad. I'm never going to question. No. I'm a critical thinker, and there's a game theory element of business that I know exists that I don't see being played out, and I'm questioning that.
I can give you a little insight on that one.
Please do.
What I think, let's just go with the banks in general right now.
Okay.
I think most banks are corrupt for the most part, and they have been for decades. And this new system is going to put them in the spotlight, and blockchain is going to be all verifiable. They're dragging their feet. They are fighting regulations as long as possible to steal as much money and do as much corrupt crap as they can before they have to get on the blockchain. There was a report that came out that by November of 2021, every bank in the world is going to be on basically this ledger system, whether it's Ripple or not. They're going to be on this digital system. By November of 2025, they're all going to have to be using it with that ISO 220 compliance and stuff. So when that kicks in, they're going to drag their feet as long as they can until that. To me, I don't know if I'm right, but I've known bankers. I've had friends that own banks. I just don't trust any bankers.
Well, I can understand any legacy system that sees a technology, an innovative technology come that clearly will displace them. Mm-hmm. Case in point, PayPal. I mean, Ray Charles could see that these blockchain networks are going to displace middlemen, period. Yeah. PayPal, goodbye. Venmo, goodbye. Western Union, goodbye. MoneyGram, goodbye. The minute the individuals have the wallets, it's peer-to-peer, and we don't need you anymore. Mm-hmm. Right?
Yeah.
Now, if DeFi does what some of the people are saying it's going to do, guess what? The need for banks goes away, because then if banks aren't facilitating our transactions and they're not facilitating the lending of money, then they have no use.
Yeah. And before there was for cash. Yeah, this is, as I said, it's changing the world, and they're going to drag as long as they can to keep their legacy systems in place. But by November 2025, I think it's done. They are going to slowly start, they're going to be on the system, but eventually they'll be rendered. It might be 20 years from now, they'll be rendered irrelevant. We might not be around when they're completely all gone, but they're going to be gone, more than likely. And there'll be some instances they need to stay, because some banking systems and communities, say like for car loans, for loans, like state banks or credit unions and things like that, or for credit cards. People still need credit cards. There'll probably be a place for them. They're just going to have to adjust to this new system, which they're now allowed to carry cryptocurrencies and stuff. They could be vault systems for crypto.
Well, I find that interesting from two perspectives. One, the ability for a trusted party, and this is where there will be a need for trust. Most, like for instance, the case in point, MicroStrategy's allocating 450 plus million to Bitcoin for their corporate treasury. They don't hold that. It's not Michael Saylor, the CEO, isn't walking around with a ledger and the corporate treasury is sitting on that. No. A third party custodian, custodying that.
And that'd be the same for you and for myself. As these get huge, we're gonna want a trusted custodial instead of keeping it on our wallets ourselves, so that if we lose, we're idiots and lose all our money, which I have a lot, Bitcoin and things like that in the past, and through bad wallets, or I'm just an idiot. So to have a trusted third party source to hold that, it would be great, because especially let's say XRP goes crazy, goes to $1,000, and we're sitting on hundreds of millions of dollars. You want to keep that in your stupid wallet at your house, or on a ledger, or on your phone. If we can get that into an institution and it's safe, and we can do something with that DeFi, that is going to be what we're going to need, and I would want.
Yeah, I want it too.
Yeah, exactly. That's the thing, is like cashing out. Like you have to have somewhere to put it. I don't think banks are going anywhere. Not only because banks run the world.
I should say they're going to evolve. They're not going to.
They're going to evolve.
There will be mom and pops everywhere like they are now. They'll evolve into I think they'll still be around. Yeah, I do too.
For sure. Yeah, they have a place, because with crypto, and this is one of the reasons why I don't have my face on here, is because with crypto, somebody can hold you at gunpoint and take all your coins. I mean, if you have your phone on you and you access your coins from your phone, I mean, if you don't have even if you have everything in a ledger, I mean, with a gun in your face, like if he just says transfer the crypto, like what are you going to do? You're just going to send him the crypto. And it's not the same thing with a bank. You can't pull out all your money all at once and just like give it to some random person. So,
but you can, crypto can.
I'd never keep crypto on my phone, but
yeah, I think it's people are underestimating how, and especially since everything's on the chain. So when you go to the store and you buy crypto, the person that got the money can see which wallet and how much money was in it that it came from. And then if you have another wallet that has a bigger amount, and this is like your purchasing wallet, but if you ever send money between those wallets, then there's a connection. And if they can link you to an account with a lot of money in it, somebody's going to show up with a gun in your face.
Yeah, and that's why I think those banks.
I'm lucky. In Costa Rica, I do all my business in English, and it is in the area that I live in. They don't read English, and they put a gun to me and say, "We want the 24-word phrase." I could say it in English, and it would like just go right over their head.
Yeah, well, I tell my people.
I'm making a joke.
What I always tell people on this, and this is a very serious security issue, is to keep it in like something like an LEPAL or a Nano Ledger. Keep the printed words not on keep them separate, keep them on USBs, and keep them in a safe deposit box where you don't even have access to it when you have those large holdings.
Exactly.
The small things that you do trading with, I keep those on Atomic Wallet, and the small amount that lost tomorrow, okay, but the other stuff should be held on some type of cold storage wallet, say in a safe deposit box or somewhere away from everything, and you don't have access to it unless you really go to get it. And your small transactions, and like Lazarus said, is if you do transactions a lot, have a separate wallet that's your transactional wallet. Because if you do a transaction online and say you have 500,000 of something, and you go buy 50, you use 50 of it on something, they can just look at that transaction and see he's got 500,000 in there. But if you use
let's follow him home.
That's one of the things I really, really liked about We'd Say Win's Sum app.
Yeah,
is that there's like a vault, and then there's a spending wallet.
Yeah,
and it's only the spending wallet that interacts with the world.
And you can change that spending wallet over and over again, so you always have a new one. So it's not even
So you're hip to all that.
Yeah, I have it.
That was brilliant.
Yeah, that is a really good idea.
I
really did. Yeah, I'm really excited. I think that like it kind of isn't it funny how we've kind of just done a full circle. We started talking about user interfaces and went off into DeFi and then bashed Ripple for a little bit, and we come back. Now we're back to the Sum app and a user interface.
Mm-hmm.
It's I'm going to be happy that I'll be able to tell people about the early days. You know what I mean? I remember hearing stories from folks that were talking about the early days. I mean, I remember, for instance, this guy was talking, a buddy of mine. He was a gambler, degenerate gambler.
Mm-hmm.
And somehow got himself access to a margin account in 1999 with his brother. And this guy was taking flyers on .com this and .com that. Well, a couple of the companies that he had gotten money into, Microsoft, Amazon, and Google before it became Alphabet. And he did very well over 10 years.
Yeah.
Very, very well.
Yep. Losing all his money on the other ones made no difference because he made so much on the ones he won on.
Exactly. If you have 5 winners and 100 losers, the sheer magnitude of the gain from those 5 not only wipe out the losses from the other 100, but put you in a different income bracket for sure.
Definitely.
There's a question that's asking about using exchanges to kind of make your anonymous mixers for people snooping on your balances. Well, yeah, you could use. I mean, there's people that do kind of swap things around. You can Google this and look for the best ways to do it, because there are some ways I don't know offhand how to explain it, but there are ways to kind of cover up your balances. But I think the best way would just be you get like an Atomic wallet or just Exodus wallet. I use Atomic wallet, but Exodus or any of those other wallets. And you just send small amounts to one wallet, and then you just you can make another wallet and send it to that wallet.
Right. You have one wallet for transactions with the outside world.
Yeah.
And you have your own wallets that are kind of like your vaults.
Yeah.
You only take out enough from the vault that you need to transact for the week or the day or the whatever. Hey, we're at that time in the show, folks, where I bring in our investor from the street. Now, this young lady is new to investing relatively and has got a thirst and a hunger to learn about investing principles and cryptocurrencies. And she's even got her own little Instagram show where she talks to people about what she's learning. I'd like to welcome her. She's going to have some questions for you guys. Welcome, Bida Av.
Hello, everybody. Happy Friday.
Hello.
How's it going, Bida?
Good, good. How are you all doing?
Good.
Pretty good.
Hi, Brady.
So, Bida, Erik and Lazarus are here. I'm sure you were backstage hearing some of this conversation. Do you have any questions for our panelists tonight?
I do. So for the XRP part, I think you already asked part of the question I wanted to ask, as far as if we talk about Ethereum and Bitcoin having scaling issues and the different projects they're working on in order to improve the protocol that they already have. And as far as I know, XRP doesn't have scaling issues or anything they're really working on. So I've always been curious to why the price doesn't really move very much. So he explained that mostly it might be liquidity, and some of it could be from regulatory part of the issue. And I also want to know how big of a role does custody play on the price, as far as, you know, people talk about the different custody companies that are not normally talked about, but how does that affect the XRP price?
Good questions. Who wants to go first?
Yeah, I think custody is really important, and I don't think, like, to me, I'm not a lawyer, so really I'm just like going based off of like what I've heard and what other people that know more about the law than me have said. But custody is going to stop unless there's a legitimate custody solution that people can use, that companies can use, then they're not going to use it. And I think part of the problem may be that people are afraid to do it because they don't want to get in trouble down the road. Because you might not get in trouble for doing something like MoneyGram. I've heard that XRP, that Ripple, and work directly with regulators for the MoneyGram thing and figured out how to put it on the balance sheet and all that stuff. But that may be because they're a remittance company. It may be a unique situation that made that possible. Whereas like banks and financial institutions have like more stringent requirements that they have to abide by. And I think that custody is probably one of the issues, and maybe PolySign will be the big solution there.
Yeah, and PolySign is working on that problem, and I think that, like I said, yeah, and the banks, they said the regulatory is big, and that's part of the reason they can't just buy it, hold it, and institutional adoption is one of the main reason the price isn't moving is because retail investors are in it. It's just us. We don't move the market. We're nothing. We don't. You can buy your $1,000 worth or you can buy your $1 million worth. It doesn't put a dent in the market. Until billions come in this market, the price will shoot up. And then when price discovery really kicks in as the adoption use, there's a mathematical formula that I can get offline. I don't have it out here, that really breaks down. And Crypto Granny does a good job. If you guys, anyone look up Crypto Granny's latest video, we were talking before this, and she used a lot of the math and stuff. We talked about it, that she used some of the stuff we worked together on, and breaks down what the future price would be with adoption and taking all these factors, like over 100 different factors in place. And she came up with $1,125 within 5 to 8 years. And she is one of the top finance people there is in this whole entire market. She's no joke. If you haven't followed her channel, her name's Susie, you can take a look at her channel. She's phenomenal, does really good research. She's very, well-versed in finance. She's worked in it for over 30 years, I think 35 years in finance. And she really understands the math and the mechanics that these companies use all the time. So we're just not there yet. It's a nascent asset class. We're very early, even though it's been around for a decade. We are very early adopters.
Yeah, finance is so big that, and it's incorporated in everything we do, that this overhaul is going to take getting big players off their legacy systems in and of itself. For example, my company that I work for now, they still use Excel 2010, right? And it's 2020 right now. And like, you must ask, like, why do they do that? And it's because all their systems are compatible with 2010. Their SAP is integrated with it. Their business warehouse, and I think it's kind of the same thing for banks. It's going to take a long time to get off these legacy systems and to get into something new.
I'll tell you, before I turn it back over to Britta, I'm just going to close with, Erik brought up a really good point, and this is not one that I've considered before, that the regulatory clarity that is being asked for may have nothing to do with banks, may have nothing to do with anything other than a classification of what the digital asset is. Let's say, for instance, nationally licensed banks, as part of charters and bylaws, state they cannot deal with an equity in this fashion, or they can only use commodity vehicles in this fashion. See, these are things we don't know. And it makes a lot of sense now that I think about it. When I look at, okay, the SEC that came out and basically gave Bitcoin and Ethereum the magic wand and said, okay, you guys are absolutely not securities, but everybody else, unless they get a no action letter from us, is subject to being defined as a security. And therefore you would have to play in the, it's now making sense to me where the regulatory clarity is needed. Maybe it isn't just from a classification standpoint of what the asset is. Is it a currency? Is it a commodity? Is it a security? So, Eric, thank you for bringing that up.
Yeah, and with the institution themselves, they got to clarify within their own confines of their institution of what they can do. Because in their bylaws, it says you can't buy X, anything under $5 you can't touch. I saw one company, they can't buy Bitcoin unless it goes to $50,000 for some reason. If it goes to $50,000, they're clear to buy it. If it's under $50,000,
that's from a risk, right? So they assign risk and valuation. So if your market cap is X, then you present too high of a risk.
Yeah. So based on their math was
exactly the same thing. There are companies positioning at different buy points, and what we're watching in real time, it's being played out. It's the de-risking of the digital asset space is playing out in real time.
Yes.
Bitta, next question.
The next question is for the DeFi space. Considering it's a lot newer, I guess, than Bitcoin and the Ethereum, the other spaces. For somebody like me who's new to the space and doesn't know how to read, the white paper and understand, the background of all that, what should we be looking for somebody that's new when you're looking at a new project? What are the things that you should be looking for that are, clearer for you to say, okay, this is okay to invest in, and without having to go into the white paper, because that takes quite a lot. What's the starting point?
Well, like Lazarus said earlier, he watches some videos and finds some trusted people, and I'll let him go from there. But I mean, he finds some trusted people that he's seen online, and they've done all the research, and then he kind of used some of their advice. I strongly advise, just even if you don't understand it, and I know I've read some white papers, or I've had other people read the white papers and read it multiple times and still didn't understand it. I'm not claiming just because I read a white paper means I understand it either. I read some of those are very complex. The Axiom project, I still don't understand, even though I made good money on it. I no clue to what it does, but it worked. But there's what I do if I look at any project, I try to look at the utility factor. Is it going to be used? What's it going to be used for? What's the potential for the future? We use Singularity Net, AI, for example. They're building like an XRP roadway system. And all the AI, people can attach their AI onto this blockchain, and you pay with the AGI token, and it runs kind of like the gas of the network. And these other projects go on there. So they're decentralizing artificial intelligence on this network. And Ben Gertzel, amazing. And so I look for projects like that. And you don't got to read the white paper if you understand AI, you understand that it's potential for the future, and just looking at those fundamental aspects. And I'll let Lazarus go from there.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think, like, for me, I don't think I want to be an expert in too many coins. I think that if you want to guarantee to not lose money, then you should do as much research as you can. You should dig into the white paper, read it 5 times if you have to. But yeah, first, like you mentioned, I kind of take it as the same approach with stocks. Like, I'm not going to invest in something that I don't understand, and at least like the base use case. So like Coca-Cola, for example, like as an investment, like you can understand why Coca-Cola makes sense, why people will buy it, and why it's not going to go anywhere anytime soon. So that makes sense. Whereas like something else to you, you might be like, well, I don't know anything about this. I'd say if the use case doesn't jump out to you and be like, and make you think like, oh, this is awesome. This is going to be like big in the future. I can see why this will be used. But I think it's a good starting point. Like use case, check the white paper if you want to, and then just, conglomerate a bunch of, or consolidate a bunch of sources. I would look at as many sources as you can, because there's plenty of misinformation or FUD or, just people that are trying to do their best but didn't quite get it and things like that. So look at as much stuff as you can if you really want to understand it. But if your goal is to just, it depends on your goal, really. If you're trying to make money and be sure that you're not taking too much risk, then that's what I would do. But if you're willing to gamble a little bit, then, maybe put in place some things that you're going to look for. That if these projects have this, if they're like hitting their goals, because every project, they have timelines to when they're going to hit their goals, and you can check if they're hitting them, a lot of these projects. And if they don't, then, you wouldn't buy it or things like that.
And one thing I can add real quick, if you're really starting to get out and you want to like make good money with this, the stuff that's hardest to buy will make you the most money.
Yep.
Because anyone can go to Coinbase and that's already hit. But when you go try to buy something like Casino Coin, or it's on like a couple of exchanges, you have to go to Bitrue, you send your XRP over, then buy it. But when that gets on, like when that's on Coinbase or when that's on 15 exchanges and gets on Binance, it's not going to be $250 per million. It's going up. And the more exchanges they get on, the more these prices rise because you have access. And one thing people don't understand is the less access a token has, the cheaper it is. The more access it gets, it usually rises in price because more people have access to buy it. And I like to find things that are hard to buy, that are difficult to get, that our people don't know about it, because those are going to be your biggest gainers. And you could triple and quadruple your money really fast and get out and find other ones, or you can hang on to a good stack. What I recommend, and I've done in the past where I dump 100%, don't do that. Dump like 50 or 60% and always keep 40% in something that you thought that has a good thing, because of those. We talked about it earlier before the started. It's kind of like an angel investor. If you have, say, 30 things you bought and you sold, even if you sold 90% of it, keep 10%. Those small little things you kept could outperform your whole entire portfolio. One could just blow up.
And I'll tell you, I'll close out on your question, Bitta, that probably the most valuable thing any of us can do is be on a path of learning. So taking a white paper and reading it and not understanding it is actually a good thing, because it gives you the opportunity that if you find a word that you don't understand, you Google it. You have access to, we all have just this incredible amount of access to information. That is the process I've done with, if I sound like I know what I'm talking about or have a clue about what I'm talking about in the investment world, is because I've spent the last 2 years listening to professionals and stopping videos and writing words down and going to Google. I had to, what does bifurcation of a market mean? I had no idea. What does this mean? What does that mean? I have to go Google it. I have to come back. I have to understand. I'll rewatch it, put it in the context of now this new understanding. And before you know it, you will start to understand things that you did not understand before, because you're actively, it's a process of learning.
Yeah.
And making money is a byproduct of the utilization of information. Well, information is knowledge. Knowledge comes from learning. So you learn, you acquire knowledge, you apply the knowledge, then you'll make the money. Too many of us think if we listen to this guy and put our money over here, we'll make some money. That is not teachable and repeatable. If it happens for you, it's because you got lucky. You're talking to 3 former professional poker players who know that the game is filled with people that are trying to get lucky. It's only the winners, though, are the ones that win are over time. Nobody who's lucky in poker is a consistent winner. Luck is not teachable or repeatable.
Yeah.
That was my rant.
That's true, though.
And it's not an investment.
That's awesome. That's all in life. My last question for both of them, for both of you, is what are the 2 places that you recommend people get information from? Like, what are the 2 places you normally get your information from for like new projects and things like that you recommend to people?
So I can share like a couple of people that I follow. I would say, like, for example, he did say Google, and that's something I live on Google. I learned more things after graduating college than I ever did throughout my whole, 16 years in school or whatever it is, and just from Google. So that's a great source right there. And I would say like, C3 Nick. I don't know if you guys know him.
Sure.
He's a guy that, I subscribe to his Patreon, and it's expensive, but he is like, this guy will put in so much research and effort into figuring out like all the ins and outs of something, and it saves me a lot of time. And I don't usually just buy things that people mention, but he's one of those guys. And even him, like, I don't just buy something just because he mentions it, because it could be just, a part of his portfolio, something he's trying to do specific with his portfolio. But I think if you find people like that, a couple people like that really go down on the research, like Galgatron. Like Galgatron doesn't share projects, but he's that's the kind of guy I'm talking about. The guy that isn't BSing. He's not just going to repeat something because he heard it somewhere else. And I would just say but other than that, teach yourself or look at 100 different sources, combine them all and sort through the information to figure out what makes sense and what doesn't make sense and what overlaps.
Yeah, and I'd say a good way to start too would be just when you do, I would YouTube it, and like you said, and look at those, but then you go vet that. Like someone makes a statement like Vechain, you can go research it for yourself. Don't just take what they say as the gold standard. And then when you find you're like, okay, every time I research that guy, he's always right, then you can trust that source. And like I vet a lot of the videos that I watch. As Kevin Cage, of course, is pretty popular. He's really heavy on XM.
Yes.
But he talks about like Algorand and other ones, and then Hedera hash graph, which I like, and a few of these things. He's really on one. The digital asset investor is great. Jerry Hall, seriously, his channel. He dives into stuff, and he really researches what he's talking about. He understands finance. He's done it for decades. He says he's been doing crypto for a few years, but he's done finance for a long time, and he understands finance, and he's got a grasp on it. And when he didn't know, he went and relearned or learned. And you're kind of tying the old asset class to this new one. And you being very young, there's a lot of crap out there, like Dogecoin. People talk about. I always make fun of Dogecoin. Puppy coins. I think it's the worst investment in the world. But people buy it and think it's the greatest thing. I know a guy that's heavily invested in it, and he thinks it's the greatest thing, and it's complete crap. It has no use case, no nothing. It shouldn't be on there, but people buy it and trade it. So even crap can make money, but one day all these are going to be gone. And if you do your due diligence and really search out projects, like I said, even I've read white papers I don't understand. And I eventually got it. When I say I don't understand it, I initially read 2-3 times because I don't understand what they were trying to convey. But it convinced me enough to buy into the project, and that was just on a leap of faith. And they did very well. Vechain, and if one thing I do is you don't want to read 30 pages because a lot of it is very dry and technical. Read their vision, the first and second page will usually give their vision and an overview. At least you'll say, oh, I can understand where they're going with it. I understand that. You don't got to read all the other crap. There's 29 pages of math that I don't understand sometimes. I have to really research it and watch videos and learn it. But that first page of vision, if that vision doesn't click with you, go to the next one. Get something that you might see something we might not even see because of your age and things that you see and things that you are, engulfed in that we would totally miss being old geezers. Well, I don't think Lazarus is that old, but me and Jerry here.
And I want to second Kevin Cage. Definitely check him out. Like as far as YouTube goes, that's my favorite YouTuber. Like he's the guy that's gonna say, don't buy something because I say it, but he's gonna give you a ton of information. Yeah. And he really does his homework. So check him out.
Crypto Granny, I can recommend her as well.
Yeah, I do follow Kevin Cage. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, there you go. And for those of you that are at home, you're on your own path and you're responsible for all your own outcomes, right? Yeah. But there is something to be said that there is wonderful information to be had on YouTube. Twitter is actually, believe it or not, amongst all the noise, you will find some absolute gems. And,
King Solomon.
There's a bunch of people, and we could spend, I'm not in the habit of saying names.
The name, okay.
The reason is is because there's so many good ones. It would take me so long.
That's true.
And if I only mentioned 2 or 3, that means I've left 5 out that are just as worthy as the 2 that I mentioned.
Yeah.
So that's the only reason why I stay away from that. There's also wonderful stuff out there that doesn't have anything to do with cryptocurrency, but it's absolutely imperative that investors understand. And that's why I am always recommending Real Vision. Whether you start with just the free content on Real Vision YouTube, or spend $1 to get a 30-day subscription so that you can watch all the crypto videos they've got, the value versus growth videos, the gold versus this. I mean, the wealth of knowledge that you can learn for literally nothing is immense. So everybody has their own path. And Bitta, one of the wonderful things about you is you've always been so open to learning and bringing questions and then applying these things. I hope that you have people that you're bringing up with you, just like Erik and Lazarus are bringing me up. I'm hoping that you're bringing people up too. And I know that you have your Instagram channel. So would you close us out with what the latest bit of I saw you went live a couple of times this week. Did you get any investor stuff going on with those 2 particular endeavors?
Yeah, I've been getting a lot of questions about YouTube. Like, a lot of questions about me having, YouTube channel and like putting information about Bitcoin and how to buy it and all that stuff, as far as things that they can just get from YouTube. But a lot of the people that I have, they don't. They all speak different languages, and I speak 2 of the languages outside of English. So I'm trying to find a way to translate the English into Amharic and Tigrinya, because those are the 2 other languages that I speak. But the challenge has been when I start my live and people jump in, half of them only speak one language and the other half only speak another language, and trying to balance, the languages. So now I have a challenge, like, should I start different channels for different languages or certain times for certain languages? So that's been a bit of a challenge.
But it's a good challenge to have. And the wonderful thing about it is that we need, it's wonderful that you have already the skills to do that, to take these complex concepts, principles, and ideas and convey them to a subsection of the global community that wouldn't have access to them otherwise. Truth of the matter is, you won't find a crypto white paper in Swahili. I'm sorry. Most likely it's going to happen. It's going to be in English, and it's going to need to be translated. Finance runs in English, and it doesn't matter what country in the world you're on. Money, the language of money is English. So anytime you can take that and give it to somebody who doesn't know English, you're helping somebody. You're adding value to somebody.
Yeah. So that's
right
the
on.
challenge.
Thank you.
Now. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, right. It's a good challenge to have. So, Bitta, Erik, and Lazarus, I'm going to put you into the green room. I'm going to bring on our producer, Brady, for his final thoughts, because that's what we do. We don't close out a show without hearing from producer extraordinaire Brady. Brady, final thoughts on tonight's show.
Final thoughts. Let's see.
We do this every week, Brady. So,
yes. Since going into this macro wormhole of, like, I would say the rabbit hole of Bitcoin is relatively small compared to the wormhole of macroeconomics, because it just never ends. So it's good to get into the habit of looking around and trying to find other competent people that have a better understanding of something you're trying to learn about, so that they bring you up a little bit more, as you were describing before, and whether you contribute to the channel or not, and you try to help other people out with digital assets, because the further out you go from Bitcoin and all of our fancy internet money, you're going to find less and less people that know what it is. So you kind of have to not twist, but you have to alter how you talk about digital assets in other channels. It's weird to think about, but it's something I was thinking about yesterday. Anyway, I think having this top 20 prospect and a lot of assets that we work with and think about and talk about are more top 10-ish, which is totally fine. I think looking at the other 10 as a means of, hey, how can I sharpen my research skills and my critical thinking, and is this worth the $100, or should I spend it somewhere else? So I think while we all know we're playing with fire, it's good to try and do some tricks with it, because if you get more confident in your capabilities, it might help you reach a different level of confidence that you may have not had before. And if all that took was a $7,000 profit that you took on a DeFi project before it exploded, well, good on you. You knew what you were getting into when you started, and hey, we all live and learn. So I kind of feel better that this time around in the crypto market, the traders are more aware of the environment they're in. Yes, you can still make money. Yes, it's very exciting, but you also can't be a chicken with your head cut off. You have to be smart, take profits, and only invest what you can afford to lose.
Wow,
and that's my 2 cents.
Really good advice. Right on. Thank you so much for that, Brady. So, folks, that does it for our show tonight. Really, I think I'm going to go back and watch this replay. A lot of different things were brought up, a lot of different concepts. Oh, Jorge, thank you. Yeah, please hit the like button, folks. Subscribe to the channel. We try to do something that adds value and also has some level of entertainment, right? So if we're able to engage with you, then maybe you'll get something. Or, lucky for us, we have such a great audience. Every single Friday night, you guys bring something that adds value to my role and path as an investor. So thank you very much for all your participation and all your support. And until next time, Pura Vida.